Hey, it's Avi from JustWriteMusic.com. It's been a bit since we've been here in the face-to-face place. Today we're learning how to use and how to write one of the most time-tested bass lines ever, the Lament Bass. Before we get into it, hit the subscribe button and bell below for more videos helping you get everything out of the way so you can just write music. I'm growing into it. We're talking about bass lines, yes, but I'm using a guitar because we will need to talk about the chords that happen above the bass line as well. There you go. So what exactly is a lament bass line, and why should you care about how to write it? Now, a lament bass refers to a specific movement of the lowest voice in an ensemble, the bass voice, the lowest sounding one. That one, not always the root, we'll get to that. This motion, this bass line goes back centuries, and it sounds great. A lament bass will traditionally move from 1, or the tonic, all the way down to 5, or the dominant, by step. So it would sound like this. This is a nifty trick to pull out to show people the goods, whatever that means. Before we actually get into, the woodwork of writing some lament bass lines, there is one thing we really gotta cover: inversions. Now, an inversion is when the lowest sounding note of a chord is not the root of a chord. It is not the letter name of the chord. Now, you can find out the other notes in a chord by using the every other note method. So say we're trying to figure out the notes in a C chord. We're gonna be in C major. Let's take C, that's 1. Oh, gotta turn the guitar on. All right, so we're going to skip the next note, every other note. So we got C, we're skipping D, going to E. I'm gonna play E here. Okay, so we got C and E now, but now we gotta skip F, every other note, right? And then go to G. There we go. Hey, that's a C major triad. We did it. So now we have these other 2 notes that we know of that are options to throw in the lowest note. We don't always have to have C as the lowest note. That gives our bass lines a lot more options and a lot more flexibility. Since we're not just using the root in the bass anymore, we can stop jumping around from root to root and start moving by step and start adding some melodic qualities into our bass line. One of these melodic qualities being the lament bass. We can write a lament bass with root position chords. That's just the only one you can do with root position chords. The whole inversions thing that we just talked about, that's why this is important. The next thing that we're going to do is choose our chord progression. We need to pick chords that have the notes we need for the bass line, for the lament bass. The first thing you want to do is to arpeggiate the like button for the YouTube algorithm. We're going to limit ourselves just to triads, and we're going to stay in the key of C, keeping it light. So for that lament bass, we need the scale degrees. We need 1, 7, 6, and 5. In the key of C, this would be C, B, A, G. Let's pick a few chord progressions. The first one I want to do is C, G, A minor, G. This would also be 1, 5, 6, 5 in harmonic functions or Roman numerals. The next one we're going to use is C, E minor, A minor, G. Or 1, 3, 6, 5. We're gonna round it out with 3 chord progressions. This one's gonna be a teeny bit different. C, G, F, E minor. What? What was up with that? We're gonna find out. We're going to use inversions to create a lament bass line for each of these chord progressions. Now, in order to illustrate an inversion in lead sheet notation using the letters and stuff, what you want to do is write the chord name as normal. Say if we're doing C over E, we would write the C and then put a slash, a forward slash, and then put E right there. You may have heard of slash chords. This be them. Now let's actually add the lament bass to these chord progressions. Let's take that first chord progression. It was C, G, A minor, G. This is actually the same exact chord progression I used in the example way at the beginning of the video. Look at that. We're diving back into it. Everything came full circle. Chekhov's chord progression now. So right now in this chord progression, the root is 1, 5, 6, 5. Our lament bass requires us to go down by step from 1, 7, 6, 5. So if we're doing 1, 5, 6, 5, we're 3/4 of the way there. We just gotta find a 7th scale degree in the G chord. So let's go back to our every other note method. Let's start on G right here. Cool, that's G. We're skipping A because that comes after G, skipping it. That's not part of it, but we are going to use B because that's every other note. All right, then we're going to skip C and we're going to hit up the D. We're going to hit up the D. Yup. So we have G, B, D in our chord progression, and B is the 7th scale degree in the key of C major. That's the note that we need in the bass. We would say that this is a G over B chord. If we stick that B in the bass, we've got our Lament Bass going on. I'm gonna play the original chord progression first, and then I'm gonna add the Lament Bass in there so you can see what the difference sounds like back to back. Definitely a more melodic musical quality to the bass line in the second example, right? With the Lament Bass. It was cool, I liked it. Moving on to our second chord progression, we're looking at C, E minor, A minor, G. So the scale degrees of our bass line here is 1, 3, 6, 5, which is pretty good, but we want to lament the hell out of this thing, right? So we got to find that 7th scale degree in the E minor. Let's use our every other note method, same thing like we did for the first chord progression. We got E, boop. So we're skipping F because we're doing every other note, going to G, sounds good. Then we're skipping A because, yeah, and then hitting up B. That B, that's the 7th scale degree in C major, so that's what we want to use as the bass for this E minor. In this case, the way we're going to do it is we're just going to not play this open E and just do this. That's it. Same old E minor shape, we're just not playing the open E because the B is the next note played on that standard open chord. Now we got our 1, 7, 6, 5. Let's go to the chord progression. Let's take a look at our final progression. The chords we're using are C, G, F, E minor. This one was our oddball. We're actually not going to use 1, but 3 inversions to pull this off. We're stepping things up a little bit. So our roots here are 1, 5, 4, 3. C is fine, that's just our 1 chord. And we've done the G before in the second slot there. That's just G over B. Cool, that's just this guy. Let's take a look at that F. We're gonna do our every other note thing. I'm not gonna go through it again. We're gonna get F, A, and C. Right there, that's the A. We need the A for our 6, because A is 6 in the key of C, so we're gonna need to make that A the lowest note. All we're gonna do is take our regular old F major chord, the open F major chord that we all learn, and add the open A below it. That's it. Doesn't that sound great? Last is that E minor. And we've done the E minor already from last time. It's E, G, B. So right there, that G, that's the 5th scale degree. That's what we need to be in the bass for this E minor. So we're gonna do our regular old E minor, and we're gonna take our 3rd finger and plop it there on the G. Ooh. This makes our final progression C, G over B, F over A, and then E minor over G. Let's go to the example place. How this progression ends differently. we land on the E minor instead of on the G, the dominant. We're hitting the 3. What gives? When we end on the 5th scale degree or the dominant, that's called a half cadence. And not getting that structural strong point makes the end of that progression feel different, which can be a really pleasing experience. I liked the E minor because it created this kind of fall at the end, which I certainly wasn't expecting. What about you? Let me know. There you have it. Now you know how to write a lament bass. Not just that, but you also have a solid understanding of inversions as well in order to write them lament basses left, right, and center. Here's the part of the video where I go tell you to go get a thing that I made. Please go get it, but I'm gonna tell you what it is first, okay? I'm sorry, okay, I was gonna try and do a thing in like a stupid segue, but it's not working. Here's the thing, go get it. It's super helpful. It's just 3 steps, super easy language. Go do it. Head to justrightmusic.com/songstarter. There's a link down in the doobly-doo. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today and talking random music stuff. You rule, you do. You're awesome, just accept it already. I'm Avi from justrightmusic.com, and don't forget to keep being awesome.